The second unwritten rule of work is compliance. I already made a video about this, but I realized I super messed up the tech and you couldn't see the screen on my tips on how to disagree with people in power, so I'm re-recording this so that it can actually be useful. I'm Dr. Anna Kalschmidt. I'm an industrial organizational psychologist and culture expert, and I research the unwritten rules of work. So we defined compliance as being voiceless, not being allowed to share your opinion, being silenced, being told to speak less, etc. This was most salient for the Black men in our research group. We researched Black and white women and men. But even for the lowest group, the one that brought this up the least was white men, and even for them it was 47%. So we don't usually use percentages for qualitative data. I've talked about this in previous examples, but this still shows how prevalent it was, that even the smallest group was almost half. So the tip to take from this is that there's an expectation of compliance in a lot of corporate environments. Of course, there are exceptions. And I've posted other videos on how this can be dangerous, like in the Boeing situation, or even just really ruin your reputation, like we're seeing Bumble try to recover from right now, where if people can't disagree with you, mistakes are made. And sometimes it's more devastating than others. It's also the opposite of psychological safety, which is a very critical work factor. I've posted about that as well, and will continue to post about psychological safety throughout this week, since my focus is on this rule of compliance this week. So if you're a leader watching this, beware of a culture of compliance. There are definitely consequences to this, but for everybody else watching this, just know, number one, if somebody asks your opinion at work, they're not necessarily asking it. They are very often seeking validation. When you disagree, you do open yourself up as a target. I'm a big fan of respectful disagreement. I give keynotes on how to have what I call courageous conversations. I'm a big believer in change. But here are some tips that I give in my conflict resolution course on how to disagree with someone who has power over you. Number one, you want to make it positive as much as you can. This is especially true for women, particularly women of color, because we're expected to do more emotional labor, we as in women. That's part of the smile more stuff. But even if you're a guy, make it positive. Don't come in looking devastated. That can also make it look like you don't know what you're talking about, whether or not that's true. Number two, state a shared goal at the beginning of the conversation. Show them that you care about an outcome they care about. So something like if they're rolling out a new product, show that you care about how it's received, or if the quality is really good, or whatever it is you're talking about. Show them that you're on their side. Present the problem as ours, not yours. That's a little ironic, considering the first rule is independence, right? Individualism over interdependence. But in this case, people get touchy if you say you instead of our. It's kind of like when you're in a skirmish with maybe a friend or a partner, you make sure to use I statements instead of you. It's similar to that idea. Don't just bring them a problem, bring them several solutions if possible, to show that you've thought about it and to take some of the burden off of them, which may be some of the resistance. This one is really key. Ask permission to disagree, because in a way, this is still being compliant. Even if you're not agreeing with their way, you are showing deference to their authority, which I know can feel kind of gross and can be problematic, but it's helpful because they're less likely to punish you if they've just given you permission. Stay calm, again, especially if you're a woman, or especially as a woman of color. Any emotions are going to be taken as your credibility is going to be undermined, and this is especially true for women. Men are really stigmatized for showing emotions that aren't anger, so keep that in mind as well. Validate the other person's perspective. This does not mean you agree with them. You can just say, I hear you, or I can see that. That does not mean you agree with them. But if they feel heard, they're a lot more likely to hear you. And stay humble. Sometimes you don't know everything. Sometimes they have insider information. It's not all the time. But, thank them for the insight if they give it to you, and maybe even ask, what can I do to be more aware of this in the future? Or, how can I learn more? What is a concern for you or not? So go into the conversation knowing that you could be wrong, and even if you're pretty sure you're not, because we never know, and you'll come across better and not like you're gunning for their job if you're humble. If you have any other tips, share them in the comments, please.